Hi, Nick.
Hi, Sadie.
So, day 6 of the trial, judge has done his summing up. How do you feel, seriously, how do you feel it's going so far?
I think it's gone very well. I think that the judge, last time around, it's the same judge. Last time we felt that he was harsh in some places in his summing up, unfair in others. There's a couple of points which I'd still take issue with, but overall he was much fairer. I think that he was telling the Crown Prosecution Service, don't do this again, don't even consider it. Because at the end of the last trial, when the CPS said we're going for a retrial straight away, the judge, who's the most senior judge in this court, said, think about that long and hard, you really shouldn't necessarily do that. And they ignored him. They ignored him partly because by doing that and saying it's a retrial, they stopped us being interviewed by the press. They didn't want us getting publicity, having walked free with half the charges, acquittals, and no verdict on the others. So it was partly a scam, and then they're carried away with it. And I think what he's done today particularly, but through the case as well, how there has been a difference in the way we've been treated, I think he's trying to say, and I think they've got the message, to the Crown Prosecution Service, don't do this again. So we're very pleased with it.
Good. And can I ask how your family is bearing under the strain of this whole ordeal, if you don't mind?
Well, they're bearing up, but it is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for Mark as well.
Of course, yeah.
I at least have the advantage that I've been here before, some years ago, and I know what it's like to stand in the dock and get a guilty verdict.
Yeah.
The judge in that case, I think, had decided that I didn't deserve to go to jail and was telling the truth and was honest and well-intentioned, and he gave me a suspended sentence. But I was up in the dock for 5 minutes before having given me the sentence. He suspended it, and it isn't nice at all. But I know I can take it. I know Mark can take it if it happens, but he doesn't know that yet. So it's really not a nice position to be in. Just one thing I would like to say, that the prosecution's case is so threadbare and desperate that they've made a great deal out of the fact that at the meeting that Mark was speaking at, some idiot got up and shouted out, twats and packies. Now, as Mark pointed out, that we don't know who this bloke was, he could have been planted or whatever. But my earnest plea to all our people, especially our organisers, people working as local security at meetings or whatever, if anybody ever says something, it's not just them, your speakers can get done for it and jailed for it, because you'll get the blame for it. Even in fact, if the person's thrown out, throw them out, but make sure it's recorded they've been thrown out. Otherwise, the opposition or just someone who's very angry and hasn't got the patience to listen to the fact that we've got political solutions to these problems, that we don't blame the ethnic minorities, we blame their criminals, and we blame our politicians for having brought them here. We blame our media for ignoring things when our community are the victims. You've got to make that point time and time again, and if anyone can't get that point, if they're too full of anger and hate so they can't get it, they've got to go. Otherwise, it's not worth not trying to offend them when it can lead to good people speaking at meetings or local organisers getting imprisoned for some idiot. So learn the lesson from that, everybody, please.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got a comment to make about the news we've heard about Chris Donnell's murderers being...
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm very pleased that Chris Donnell's family now have got justice for Chris. I was speaking to Kenny Smith earlier on today. He's standing in Glasgow for us in the Scottish parliamentary elections next year, and he's going to be working hard on there to call for a public inquiry into this, not so much into the death, that was a vicious murder by a gang of thugs, not into the fact that finally something has been done and justice has been got, but to the fact that before Chris Donnell was tortured to death, the police in Glasgow had an investigation into this Muslim gang violence. And the police in Glasgow 2.5 years ago dropped that investigation because they said it wasn't politically correct to carry on. The conclusions it was coming up with were politically incorrect and unacceptable. As a direct result of that, Chris Donnell was murdered. The police knew the names of 2 of his killers before he was even attacked, before he was even bundled into the car, because they'd said these 2 were a time bomb waiting to go off, and we need an inquiry into that. Just as, for the sake of getting it on record now, in case I'm jailed tomorrow and can't come out, and I won't be able to come out at lunchtime at all, because once the jury's in, that's it. So, whether I'm jailed or not, the real criminal in this affair is Colin Cramphorn, the head of West Yorkshire Police, who, of his own admission, put a team of officers for 6 whole months. What a team, at least 3. 10 hours a day, hundreds if not thousands of police man-hours investigating our case, when Nick Cass and others had tipped them off around about the same time that there was a gang of radicalised young Muslims running around in the woods between Leeds and Dewsbury, and if they'd put those officers, a fraction of that manpower, onto that, it's likely they would have caught the Sadie Graham gang, and all the people who died on the 7th of July in London last year would still be alive. And I believe that, and if I'm out tomorrow, I'm going to be making this point, I hope in front of a lot of TV cameras, that Colin Cramphorn must resign immediately, or there must be an inquiry into how on earth he made this rotten, wicked decision to persecute 2 people for speaking at a private meeting about matters of real, genuine, pressing concern to local people, and urging them to get involved in the electoral process to do something about it, while his folly, his stupidity, his political correctness was allowing the 7-7 bombers to train in the woods a few miles from here.
Yeah. And is there any point that either of you would like to make, heaven forbid the jury does return a guilty verdict tomorrow, that you'd like to have on record for the British National Party members, supporters?
Yep. From my point of view, stay calm. But I think the public will be furious over this. It's a tremendous opportunity for us. First thing is, I want to see a campaign of peaceful civil disobedience and protest. It must remain peaceful, or we lose the moral high ground. And in no way, in any way, even verbally, be targeting ethnic minorities over the fact that we're in prison. It's the government, it's the police, and it's the BBC who are to blame. The BBC should be a big target. People might want to consider whether they'll ever again pay their licence fee. I don't. So there's that. And secondly, that depending on how long I get in particular, if I am jailed, it will be hard on the party, hard on the people running the party, hard on Simon Darby, who'll be running things day to day in my absence. And I want everyone to make a special effort to try to get along, to avoid the usual stresses and strains of running a party, whether in a local unit or regionally or nationally. Those stresses and strains are always there, and it's easy to let them, get you down a bit or put you against someone else, and your argument with someone else in the party becomes more important than beating our opponents. Now, while I'm in charge, I can handle that. That's my job. But it's not fair that Simon's got to do that. So if I'm down, let's have one united, positive party.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just say thank you to everyone who supported us, and if we do go down, well,
All right.
sorry. Just thank you to everyone. Our families thank them. They've been great. It's been great seeing all the support every day. It's something that keeps us going and keeps us in such high spirits, because it's not nice being in the dock, but it's something we've had to do, because in a time when telling the truth becomes a crime, the only place for just men is in a jail cell. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all. Thank you. You've been wonderful. Thanks a lot.